Welcome back this evening. You've arrived once more at the quiet edge of night, that soft place where the world exhales and everything slows down again. The day has done all it can do. Now it's time to let go of the noise, the hurry, the small pieces of thought still circling in your mind. Let them drift for a while, like lanterns across calm water. There's nothing you have to hold on to here. No task waiting in the dark, no clock asking to be watched. Only stillness and a voice to keep you company as you rest. Tonight's story is called The Hotel at the Edge of the Lake. It's about a place that glows quietly through the fog, its windows always lit, its doors never locked. Some say the rooms remember their guests long after they've gone, that the lake itself carries their reflections, even when the moon forgets to rise. But this isn't a tale of ghosts or echoes. It's about arrival, the gentle pause between leaving one world and finding another. So settle in now. Find that comfortable stillness that lives somewhere between waking and sleep. And as we begin, imagine the faint glow of distant windows waiting just across the water. A place where you've already been expected all along. The path to the hotel was barely visible when I first saw it. A narrow trail, half swallowed by mist, running along the shoreline like a memory that hadn't decided whether to stay or fade away. Each step I took pressed into wet sand, leaving a mark that filled again almost instantly with water seeping up from the lake. It was hard to tell where the path ended and the shore began, as if both had agreed long ago to trade places whenever the moon wasn't looking. The air smelled faintly of pine and old rain. Somewhere behind the fog, I could hear the quiet shuffle of waves brushing against half-buried stones. It was the kind of sound that didn't really move forward. It just kept returning to the same moment again and again, as if stuck in a loop too gentle to break. I didn't mind. There was comfort in repetition. Even time seemed slower here, like the lake had convinced it to rest a while before moving on. Through the haze, a faint glow appeared, the outline of a building, quiet and patient against the water's edge. At first, I thought it might be a reflection of the moon, but there was no moon tonight. The light was steady, warm, almost amber, the kind that belongs to hallways, not stars. And though I couldn't yet make out the shape of the hotel, I felt a small sense of recognition, like I'd been walking toward it for longer than I realized. Maybe I'd seen it before in a dream, or maybe it had been waiting for me since the beginning of dusk. The closer I got, the quieter everything became. Even the waves seemed to hesitate, as though listening for something inside the fog. The glow widened, revealing a row of windows lined in gold light, each one flickering softly, as if someone had just walked past inside. It wasn't eerie, though. If anything, it felt like being remembered. Like the hotel already knew my name and had turned the lights on simply because it was polite to do so. When I reached the front steps, I paused. They were slick with rain, worn smooth in the middle by years of footsteps that all seemed to have gone in the same direction but never returned the same way. The door was slightly open, just enough to let out a sliver of light that fell across the wet boards like a path of its own. There was no sound from inside, only the faint hum that buildings make when they're trying not to disturb anyone. It reminded me of a deep breath held just before sleep. I pushed gently on the door, and it opened with almost no effort at all. Warmth spilled out. Not heat exactly, but the kind of warmth that comes from old wood, candlelight, and things left running quietly through the night. A small bell above the door gave a single, tired ring, like it had been waiting years for that one sound. The lobby stretched out before me, polished floors, a long desk, the faint scent of wax and rain-soaked linen. Everything was tidy, but not perfect, as if the place knew it didn't have to impress anyone anymore. There was no one behind the counter, though a small key rack still hung on the wall, half the hooks empty, the other half holding keys labeled with faded brass tags. A guest book sat open on the desk, its pages curled at the edges, the ink softened to gray. Names filled the lines in careful handwriting, neat, deliberate, almost reverent. But near the bottom, one space was still blank, waiting. I traced my finger just above the paper, not quite touching, and the page moved slightly, as if a breeze had passed through the room and written something only it could read. The sound of the door settling behind me was softer than I expected, a gentle click that seemed to echo much longer than it should have. For a moment, I stood there, letting my eyes adjust to the light. The lamps along the walls were dim but steady, casting the kind of glow that makes every surface look slightly polished and every shadow feel like it's been here for years. Dust floated lazily through the air, catching the light like a slow snowfall that never quite reached the floor. The silence was comfortable, not empty, not waiting, just present. I could hear the faint ticking of a clock somewhere, though I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It wasn't hurried, the kind of rhythm that feels like a heartbeat that's long since learned patience. The faint scent of lake water lingered in the air, mixed with candle wax and something older, a smell that reminded me of places that have been waiting too long to be found again. I stepped farther into the lobby, my footsteps falling soft against the wood, and glanced toward the staircase at the far wall. The railing curved gracefully upward, its surface gleaming faintly, worn smooth by 1,000 hands that must have slid along it on their way to bed. Halfway up, a small window let in a stripe of pale light that looked almost blue against the gold of the lamps. It shimmered faintly, as if the lake outside were breathing against the glass. On the wall beside the staircase hung a series of framed photographs. They were black and white. Guests standing proudly in front of the hotel, couples smiling beside the dock, a man in a bowler hat shaking hands with someone whose face had faded away entirely. The last frame held an image of the lake itself, perfectly still, the reflection of the hotel so sharp it could have been another building entirely, upside down beneath the surface. The caption beneath it read, "Opened, 1912. The lake will remember." A faint breeze passed through, though there were no open windows. It carried the sound of a distant hallway, a door closing slowly, or perhaps a drawer being pulled shut. I turned toward the sound and noticed a long corridor extending from the far side of the lobby, lined with closed doors and flickering wall sconces that stretched deep into the quiet. For a moment, I thought I saw movement, a shadow slipping past one of the lights. But when I blinked, there was nothing there. Just the warm flicker of a flame that refused to burn out. On the counter, beside the open guest book, sat a brass service bell. It was polished and clean, though I couldn't imagine who had last touched it. Without thinking, I pressed it once. The sound was bright and perfect, clear enough to ripple through the silence and touch every corner of the lobby. When the echo faded, the air felt different, as if the hotel had drawn in a quiet breath and was waiting to see what I would do next. I glanced back at the key rack. The empty hooks seemed to shimmer faintly now, as though something unseen had brushed past them. One of the keys, hanging near the bottom, swayed just slightly on its hook, not from any breeze I could feel, but from something gentler than wind. Its brass tag was marked with the number 9. Without really deciding, I reached out and took it from the hook. It felt cool at first, then warm, like it had just been held by someone else. I turned the key over in my hand, noticing that on its underside the number had been scratched out and replaced with a small engraving of a crescent moon. The detail was so fine, it could have easily gone unnoticed, but the longer I looked, the more it seemed to glow softly under the lamplight. A faint hum moved through the floor again, low, steady, familiar. And somewhere, another door creaked open on its own. The hotel wasn't trying to frighten me. It was simply reminding me that it was awake. Room 9 was near the end of the second floor hallway, tucked into a corner where the light from the sconces didn't quite reach. The carpet was soft beneath my shoes, its pattern worn down to faint shapes that no longer made sense, spirals that met in the middle and then wandered away again. Each step made the faintest whisper, and I could hear the lake outside pressing its calm against the walls, steady as breathing. The brass numbers on the door were dull from touch, and the key slid into the lock without any resistance. When I turned it, there was a small click. Not mechanical, but soft, like something inside the room had just opened its eyes. The door eased inward, revealing a space washed in pale amber light. Everything looked lived in, but untouched. A bed neatly made, curtains half drawn, a writing desk beside the window with a pen resting on an open notebook. A single lamp burned on the nightstand, its shade tilted slightly, as though someone had left it that way and never returned. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The air was warm but still, filled with that faint smell of lake water and wood polish that had followed me up from the lobby. For a moment, I just stood there, letting the silence settle around me, until it began to sound like the faint murmur of a voice. Not words, just a hum, like the sound the world makes when it's trying to remember something. Then it faded, leaving only the steady tick of the lamp's filament. I crossed the room to the desk. The notebook was open to a half-filled page, the handwriting small and careful, slanting forward like it wanted to keep going but didn't know what to say next. Most of the words were ordinary: dates, weather, the note of a passing boat, but at the bottom, one line stood apart, written in darker ink. The lake keeps everything, even what you forget. Beneath it, a faint ring of water had soaked through the page, the shape of a cup or a glass that had once rested there. I turned the next page, but it was blank. All of them were blank, until the last, where a small pressed leaf had been left between the sheets, brown and brittle, but still holding a faint trace of green. When I lifted it, the imprint it had left behind looked almost like the outline of a key. The paper felt warm in my hand, as if it had been sitting in sunlight, though there was none here. The lake shimmered faintly through the window, rippling with a light that didn't belong to the sky. I sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress sighing softly beneath me. Across from me, a mirror hung above the dresser, its surface cloudy with age. My reflection looked slightly delayed, as if it were thinking before moving. When I lifted my hand, it followed, but a fraction slower, like it was remembering rather than reacting. Then, for a brief moment, I thought I saw something else in the glass, not behind me, but beside me. A flicker of movement, a shimmer of light where there should have been shadow. I turned, but the room was still. The lamp, the desk, the notebook, all exactly as they had been. Only the window had changed slightly. The curtains had drawn themselves open a little farther, revealing more of the lake beyond. Its surface was perfectly still now, reflecting the hotel in flawless detail. Every window, every flickering lamp, but there was one difference. In the reflection, room 9's window was dark. A faint knock came then, soft enough that I almost didn't notice. It didn't come from the door. It came from the window pane. 3 small, even taps, followed by silence. The kind of sound that could easily have been the settling of wood or the movement of water, but it didn't feel accidental. It felt like acknowledgement. I didn't move. Outside, the lake shimmered again, and for a moment, I thought I could see ripples forming in the reflection, though the water itself hadn't moved at all. When I finally stood, the lamp flickered once, as if exhaling. I placed the notebook back on the desk, closed it gently, and left the key resting on top. The hum returned, soft, steady, like a clock running backward. Then the sound folded into silence again, and the air felt lighter, easier to breathe. I walked to the door, not sure if I'd been there for minutes or hours, and stepped back into the hallway where the light still waited patiently for me to decide which way to go. The hallway seemed longer when I stepped back into it. The lights glowed a little dimmer now. Their golden color softened into the pale gray of early morning, though I was certain night hadn't moved at all. The carpet muffled my steps completely, as if it didn't want to wake whatever the hotel was dreaming about. Far ahead, a single door stood open, just enough to reveal a sliver of light, and without thinking, I began walking toward it. Every few steps, the building gave a small sigh, the quiet pop of wood adjusting to the cool air, the hum of old pipes somewhere behind the walls. Each sound folded into the rhythm of my movement, forming a kind of music that made the air feel less empty. The faint scent of lake water drifted through again, stronger now, as though the shore itself had crept closer. When I passed one of the windows overlooking the water, I stopped. The reflection outside had changed. The lake was still, but the image of the hotel shimmered faintly, each window glowing, but not in the same pattern as the ones around me. In the reflection, some lights were off that should have been on, and others flickered where there were no rooms at all. It was like watching the building remember itself, frame by frame, in no particular order. The more I stared, the more it seemed like the reflection was the true version, and the world I stood in was only trying to keep up. A soft sound pulled me away, the distant clink of glass, followed by a low hum, almost like a song being sung from another floor. It came from the open door ahead, the one spilling light into the corridor. I walked slowly toward it, passing the shadows that flickered across the wallpaper. Branches, I thought at first, but the shapes didn't move like trees. They shifted too rhythmically, as if swaying in time with something just out of sight. The hum grew louder with every step, steady and calm, like the sound of someone polishing silver deep underwater. When I reached the door, I paused again. The light spilling from it wasn't lamplight, it was softer, thinner, like the kind of glow that comes from candles seen through fog. I pushed the door open a little more, and found what might once have been a lounge. Chairs sat neatly arranged around small round tables, each one holding a single unlit candle. Behind the bar, rows of bottles stood untouched, their labels faded and curling with time. And yet, one glass gleamed freshly polished, sitting in the middle of the counter with a faint ring of moisture beneath it. I took a step closer. The air in the room felt heavier, though not unpleasant, more like it was filled with something invisible, but meaningful. The hum I'd heard earlier was louder here, though I still couldn't tell where it came from. When I leaned over the counter, I saw a small, handwritten note resting beside the empty glass. It said simply, "Reflection settles slower than water." The handwriting looked familiar, the same as the one in the notebook from room 9. I brushed my fingertips across the note, and the air seemed to ripple slightly, as though a thin layer of glass had separated me from the rest of the room. Then the hum changed, rising, falling, almost breathing. The mirror behind the bar began to shimmer. At first, it only reflected the bottles and chairs, but then, as the light shifted, I saw the faint outline of the lake again, as if the mirror itself was a window looking out over the water. The reflection wavered, and for a heartbeat I thought I saw my own back turn toward me, standing in another version of this same room. I blinked, and the image was gone. Only the bar remained, quiet, orderly, still. The note was no longer on the counter. The glass was dry, and somewhere deep within the hotel, a clock began to chime, slow and deliberate, counting the hours that no longer seemed to matter. It rang 9 times, then stopped. I stood there until the echo faded, then turned toward the hallway again. The door behind me closed softly on its own. And as I began to walk back toward the stairs, I realized I couldn't remember if I'd ever actually checked in. The stairway leading down to the lake level curved in a slow spiral, lined with a wooden railing smooth from age and touch. Each step gave off a small, hollow creak, not loud, just enough to remind me that the building still had a pulse of its own. The air grew cooler as I descended, carrying that same scent of water and candle smoke that seemed to drift through every hallway. Somewhere below, I could hear the faint sound of water lapping against stone, rhythmic and steady, like someone whispering in their sleep. At the bottom of the stairs, the light changed. It wasn't the warm amber glow from the lobby anymore. This was softer, tinted silver, filtered through the large windows that looked directly out onto the lake. The surface outside was perfectly still, so still that the reflection of the hotel seemed sharper than the building itself. The lamps in the mirrored version flickered in places where no lamps existed behind me. It felt less like a reflection and more like another world, holding its breath just beneath the surface. A long hallway ran along the windows, lined with benches and empty picture frames. The frames were ornate, but contained nothing, only faint shadows, like the ghosts of images that had long since faded. I ran my hand along one as I passed, and for a moment a shimmer appeared, a faint outline of water rippling through the glass, then vanishing again before I could be sure I'd seen it at all. The floorboards beneath me were cool and smooth, the grain of the wood gleaming faintly as though lit from within. Even the sound of my footsteps had changed, less of a step, more of a hush. Near the center of the hallway stood a small table, and on it an old brass lantern burned quietly. The glass of the lantern had fogged from condensation, but the flame inside flickered with a calm, deliberate rhythm. I reached out to steady it, though it didn't need my help, and noticed a faint inscription carved into the metal base to light both sides of the water. I read it twice before realizing I didn't know which side I was standing on. Outside the windows, movement began. At first, it was subtle, a ripple across the lake, spreading outward from a single point near the middle. Then, shapes began to appear beneath the water, outlines of chairs, lamps, maybe even corridors, the reflection shifting, assembling, changing places with the world above it. The hotel's mirrored form seemed to pulse softly in response, its golden lights blooming and fading like slow, underwater stars. I felt my breath slow to match the rhythm. I sat down on one of the benches and watched the water breathe. The sound of it against the wall had changed, softer now, almost like a heartbeat. And in that sound, I could almost make out a voice, quiet and steady, repeating a phrase I couldn't quite understand. It wasn't calling to me. It was remembering me. The reflection grew brighter for a moment, and I saw movement inside it. A figure walking slowly through the mirrored hallway, moving with my same pace, my same hesitation. When I lifted my hand, they did the same, but a little slower, as if they were the one above the water, and I was the reflection below. Our eyes met, or would have, if there had been light enough for such things. And I felt the faintest tug in my chest, like a thread being drawn gently between two clocks set a few seconds apart. The world tilted slightly. The air trembled once, then stilled again. When I looked back, the figure was gone. The reflection had returned to perfect stillness. Only the lantern remained, its flame burning low but steady, casting a small circle of light across the wood. And for a brief moment, I thought I saw the faint outline of the crescent moon from the quay, drawn in the shimmer of the water itself. It pulsed once, softly, then faded into the depths. When I finally stood, the lantern's flame leaned slightly, as if to follow me for a moment before returning to stillness. The lake outside remained motionless again, its reflection flawless and unwavering, the hotel below now exactly matching the one above. It was impossible to tell which version had copied the other, or if they'd simply decided to agree for a while. Either way, the water looked content, like it had completed something only it could understand. The path back through the hallway felt shorter this time. The light from the lantern faded behind me until it became a single point in the distance, trembling faintly like a star seen through glass. Every bench, every frame, every curve of wood looked softer now, as though the hotel itself had exhaled and let go of the tension it didn't know it was carrying. I could still hear the quiet rhythm of the water beyond the walls, but it no longer sounded like a voice, just the world breathing in its sleep. At the top of the stairs, the air grew warmer again, carrying the faint scent of candle wax and linen. The lamps in the corridor burned steady, and the hum that had followed me since I arrived had faded to nothing. When I reached the lobby, the desk was empty, the key rack full once more. Every brass tag polished, every hook occupied. Even the guest book was closed, the pages perfectly flat, as if the last entry had never been written at all. I stepped closer to the door, my reflection caught briefly in the glass before the fog outside swallowed it whole. The rain had stopped, though the air still held that quiet after-sound of a storm that never really began. Somewhere across the water, I could see the faint outline of a dock, stretching into the lake like a line drawn to nowhere. And beyond that, the glow of something small and golden, a single window still lit, waiting for whoever came next. Before leaving, I turned back once more. The hotel stood silent and still, its windows bright but not inviting, like eyes that were awake only to keep watch. It didn't feel empty anymore. It felt full of moments, of breath, of the kind of time that doesn't need to be counted. For a moment, I thought I heard the bell above the door ring again, but when I listened, it was only the sound of the lake brushing softly against the shore. I walked out onto the path, the boards damp beneath my feet, and followed the curve of the shoreline back into the fog. The light behind me grew dimmer, folding into the mist until it was just another shimmer among many. Ahead, the world was quiet, unhurried, suspended between hours. Each step felt lighter than the one before, as if the ground had agreed to carry me for a while. When I reached the point where the lake and the sky became the same color, I stopped and looked back one last time. There was no hotel anymore. Only the faint ripple of light across the water, like a thought dissolving back into rest. So here's where the story ends. As the lake returns to stillness and the lights of the hotel fade one by one across the water, the reflections settle again, keeping their quiet promise beneath the surface. Nothing is lost here, only resting, waiting, remembering. You've walked far enough for now. You've arrived exactly where the night needed you to be. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts drift like faint ripples through calm water. There's no reason to stay awake, no reason to look back. The world can take care of itself for a little while. All you need to do is rest, and let sleep find you in its own time. Good night, and may your dreams drift softly over the lake until morning returns.